That opening that's in your being, we push it wider, wider. We go in wide and let any energy that you've felt, any opening, any awareness, let it fill your body now. Let it, imagine it like a beautiful oil filling your body. Jesus manifesting in your body. Like that. But enough of the British humour, and let's crack on with the session. Someone asked a question, and I think it's a vital question. It's at the core of what we're doing in the community, and people are asking it as well. Tanya asked it on Patreon. Can you go into an ecstatic state at any time through imagination? Can you choose to go in? Or do you need to wait until that happens? And we've looked at a bit at that, and it leads to a scripture that I want to look at that I haven't looked at yet while I'm doing this module. And it's a fascinating passage. It's, if you're going to meditate on and read a passage, I couldn't highly recommend, I couldn't recommend any more than 1 Corinthians chapters, sorry, did I say 1 Corinthians? It's 2 Corinthians, chapters 4, 5, 6. Absolutely rich, dense, mystical writings of Paul. And there's a reason for that. And there's a reason why the Corinthian writings are so rich, because they were a very spiritual, supernatural people. So he has to answer certain things, like they're the group that he talks about tongues with. They're the ones who are using tongues and prophecy a lot, that he has to help with that whole process compared to other letters that we still have. So I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at some more specific detailed questions, and then we'll hopefully do an exercise together. Awesome. So hopefully we'll get to that and we'll practice that. So I wanted to look at 2 Corinthians, chapter 5, and in particular, verse 13, and then on to 14. It's a passage that's quite hard to translate, because of you've got some presuppositions that would feed into how you translate this. And I think it's a key thing. It's telling you how Paul lived. And let me give you a little bit of a context, hopefully quick, so you don't fall asleep. Paul is talking to the Corinthian church. We can work this out because it's like you're listening to one side of a phone conversation, and he's answering their questions, and you can work out by the way he's answering what their questions are and what's going on. And there seems to be a group of people that are influencing the Corinthians, and they're kind of nicknamed, or maybe they've called themselves this, the super apostles, or maybe that's Paul's label for them. And they are power people. That's what you can work out. They are very impressive speakers because they comment on Paul being a rubbish speaker. And they talk about being power people. And you get a hint of that because Paul emphasizes the suffering and the struggle he's going through. It's like he's saying, no, it's true. What they're saying about, I have a hard time, and it's a good thing that I have a hard time. They're presumably going, we're in victory. We don't experience this tough stuff or something like that. And he's going, I experience it all the time. And in a way, I'm glad I'm suffering for you guys. I'm in the sufferings of Christ, that the word will get out quick. So there's a bit of the background. And he's kind of poking, and the reason he's doing this is because he's really concerned for them, that they'll go off the rails, that they'll get deceived by this group of people and miss some vital things. And he's trying to emphasize that the whole point of what he's doing and the point of the gospel is that it is not self-centered. It's got nothing to do with building your own popularity, ministry. He's pouring himself out like a drink offering. It's one of the phrases he uses. He's giving his life away as a gift that people will get this message and grow in it and get that reality of Christ hitting them. And that background helps you understand this verse, because he's actually saying, I am not doing this for my own ends. And here he says, I'm either doing what I'm doing for God, or I'm doing what I'm doing for you. It's not for me. And that's made more clear if we go further down the passage, that's what he's talking about, because he talks about that people might not, where is it? So I don't have to find it. You'll have to find it. I can't find it on this scrolling thing. Look at this while talking to you at the same time. He says that we no longer, people who've met Christ no longer should live for themselves. And that's the finish of this whole section. The point is you live for Christ, not for yourself. And the two things he says he's doing, and this is where it gets into ecstatic states. Well, the second one, he says, oh, there it is. I'm on it. I'm on the bit I'm talking about. There you go. For the love of Christ control us, because we concluded that one has died for all, therefore all have died. It's immediately after the verse I'm talking about. Of course it is. He says, if we are in our right mind, this is the second part, it's for you. Right mind. It's sensible. It's in cognitive, sensible thinking. I'm not sure I really like the right mind and beside ourselves translation, and that will come out in the way I talk, because they kind of have to put a spin on this to translate it. But I'm uncomfortable with the spin, because I think he's making a point here that it's about he's not living for himself. So if he's sensible and thinking and logical, he's doing that for them so that they understand things. He's relating to them as Greeks, and he's being, as best he can, logical, thinking it through, explaining. And if he's doing that, he's not doing it because he wants to show how clever he is. He's saying, I do that for you. I try and become like a Greek thinker for you. That would be the understanding I would say is in there. The first part, if us, and you can assume by he means us is his band, his team, if we are beside ourselves, it's for God. So this other thing he's doing, we do that for God. We're not doing that to impress people. We're not doing that because it will make us look good with people. If we're thinking of people, we do the second thing. We explain. We talk about the gospel. We talk about Jesus. We talk about the light of the gospel, clearly. But this beside ourselves thing, extemi, is to come to not be bodily sensible. That's the Greek. It's to be, it's from which we would get the word existential. It's out of yourself. You are not aware of bodily sensations as much. You're not trying to calculate. You're in, it would apply to a dream state. It would apply to an intense vision state. It would apply to what is called trances in other places. So here's a picture. Here's what I'm suggesting to you, because I think this points to a big answer to the question: can you do this of your own accord? He's saying we have a kind of two-half lifestyle. We're either engaging with you and talking with you, or we're ecstatically encountering God. That's what he's summing up in that sentence. Of course, that's not his entire life. But that's interesting, isn't it? He puts those two things. And we can probably assume that the super apostles were criticizing him for being ecstatic. They're saying, well, what good is that? You come along and you go into a trance-like state and you meet with beings, and what good is that? It's just rubbish. And he's saying, if we're doing that, we'll do that for God. We'll engage with God, even though we're with you and it might look unusual to these super apostles. We're going to engage with God. We are going to pray and experience things and meet with God and go into the heavens, to put it into the sort of language that we might understand. We are going to do that, and we're doing it for God, and we're not doing it to be impressive, and we're not going to restrict it so that you are not put off, because we're doing that for God. I would suggest that's a broad stroke understanding of what he's trying to argue here for them. And that applies directly to you and me, is that we could have two halves to our life, where we are processing, understanding, engaging with other people, living our lives from the kingdom, for the kingdom, and at the same time we have a hidden, but maybe visible at times, interaction life with God that is based on ecstasia. It's based on visions, dreams, trances, being caught up, going somewhere else. As John said, come up here, coming up to other places, experiencing God in ways that transforms us. Because that intimacy with God is not only good for us, it's the heart of the gospel. It's what Jesus came to do. That we would, it's not merely that we would be forgiven of our sins, which is incredible, but that's just a door opener. It's, if you just sat and went, I'm forgiven of my sins forever, you're missing the point, which is the chance to then walk into relationship, intimacy, depth, and an incredible depth. If I refer back to some of the bits, let me pull up some notes, and maybe you'll find this helpful, or unusual notes. There you go, that helps you. So hopefully you can just about read that, my writing there. There's a little man here. I'll do it in front of you. There's a little man here. That's you. Could be a woman. I should have put a little dress on that as well. I don't know. But there's you. He talks about in the start of this passage, the start of this sequence of talking, that we've met the light. There it is up there. So that the light of the gospel has come into us. Now, here's one of the things that we can just miss because we are, let me make myself bigger here. That'll help me understand it. That light thing is not just, oh, I feel good, we now understand things. No, he literally is talking about the light of creation, because that's what he says. It's come into the darkness of our hearts and created. So he's referring back to Genesis. The gospel, the good news, what Christ has done is the light coming into our beings, transforming us, changing us, just like Moses was transformed, because he also refers to this, the light of the gospel in the face of Christ. So just like Moses met Christ, if you understand Hebrews correctly, on the mountain, and it transformed him, and he was glowing as a result of that. The light, this creative light, came through his being. That's the gospel. It changes you. So you're no longer it's not just about avoiding judgment. It's about a transformation, or it's a re-understanding of what judgment is, a rearrangement of you. And it happens not only in your spirit, but also in your soul and in your body. It goes on together in all of you. God's after all of you. Paul also says in this passage, just to paint you the picture, we don't we don't look. There's an eyeball there. Remember that from physics, if you're English? Yeah, you don't just look at flesh anymore. He said we even used to look at Jesus as flesh. In other words, we looked at him as another normal human being, and we looked at how he looked and the way his eyes were arranged and what his face was like and whether he had a Jewish nose or whatever. We just looked at him. But now we realize we don't look at anyone like that, because when this light comes in, this light comes in, it changes us. And again, in this passage, we become a new being, a new living being. We're no longer just the living being that Adam was. So I'm referring from his other writings as well to the Corinthians. We are now a life-giving spirit. We're not just God breathing, creating Adam into a body and it becomes a living soul. We are now a spirit, life-giving spirit that engages with soul and comes through our body. We're totally rearranged. Though on the outside, visibly, we used to look at people according to the flesh, it may seem we haven't changed much. You don't meet Christ necessarily and suddenly all your clothes change. However, you can meet Christ enough that you do look different, but not in a necessarily an overtly physical way. You will just glow. And if it's strong enough, you will actually glow. So you're new. And you now have the ability for your whole being to relate to God. Heavenly life has come into you. That's up there. It's funny this, because it's all reversed. It's like a mirror. When you look in a mirror, it's on the other side to that. So it's heavenly life come to live in you into what is currently a dead body, mortal. It's dying. So that's what he's trying to say. And he's saying, for our, hold on, what interests us, let me do another one. I've done the selfish thing. I hope these are helping you. They might make it more confusing. I don't know. Take a screenshot, quick. So, into your flesh, which has, I've talked about this before in the community, into your body, the spirit has entered. And up here you see the picture of what flesh is. It's a soul-body connection. It's where your soul is looking to your body for all its needs, and your body is looking to the soul for all its needs. It's where healthy desires that we're given, like eating, drinking, breathing, become ends in themselves. And that's death. That results in you falling apart, because that's not the way you were. And that's what the journey that Adam began when he took the fruit along with Eve. He began the journey of breaking the pattern the way he could be. He became more and more soul body. And you see that journey through Genesis, where humanity becomes more and more of a soul body thing independent. The fascinating thing I was meditating on recently was that Adam dies. He doesn't even live a day. And you say, no, he did? No, he didn't, because he didn't live to 1,000 years. And 1,000 years is as a day in the Hebraic mindset and comes through the scriptures. So that day, they did actually die. That season, that 1,000 years, was death breaking through. The breaking down of us into soul-body beings, rather than, soul-spirit body beings. Now, if in terms of having ecstatic states, what goes on is that your soul and your body gives you permission to refocus towards the spirit. So rather than living as its own entity, flesh, you start to undo that, and you can do that because Christ died and you died in him. So that soul-body thing, that death thing, he's already done. He's already walked through. And so I've died with him, and I can allow this light to invade my being, because this is the gospel, and experience this transformation, which Paul again talks about in this passage. He says that while we live in this tent, we are, we groan. When we're groaning for the overshadowing, for the overwhelming of our heavenly arrangement, our heavenly home, to come upon us. We don't want to lose our body, he says. That's not what we're calling out for. We're calling out for an overwhelming, so that your body is changed, so the whole of you becomes resurrection life. And we have the Spirit, he says, as a deposit, as a guarantee. That's going to happen. It's too late. That's the gospel. It's in you and it's transforming you. So there's some theology behind it. Let me get to the practical stuff. So what this means is, if you want to have ecstatic states, and I've done quite a bit of research now on the history of Catholic mysticism, of different mystical experiences, of the sort of stuff that happened at the start of the last century, when with Azusa Street and the things that it opened up, where Maria Woodworth-Etter, for instance, would be preaching. And the story goes, and it's reported in a newspaper, that she was preaching in one tent and she froze and stopped for several days in a totally frozen cataleptic state. And we as evangelicals think, wow, that's amazing. Really? That's incredible. It's reported. You have to work out the veracity of these. There's so many reports, there must be something in it. And of course, everyone sees a different thing when they report it. But people would go and try and touch her and would collapse when they tried to get near her to touch her. So many of them couldn't actually touch her. It's said that the atmosphere changed in the whole surroundings, even for miles. This was in the United States. From that tent, it's like you could feel that something had changed. Now, we think, wow, as evangelical charismatics, revival-minded, wow, that's incredible. Well, yeah, the Catholics were doing it a long time before and doing the similar things. It's normal. It's just when you lose it, you don't think it's normal. It's like it's something that's unusual. But you have Teresa of Avila, you have Joseph of Cupertino, doing extremely similar things, where the normal bodily process is suspended. Now, what's the point of that? I could talk to you about about Joseph of Cupertino being able to effectively fly and take a cross that some people were struggling to put up as a celebration. They wanted to put it on a mount, and they couldn't do it, and he was worried they were going to hurt themselves. So he got so wanting to help them, so moved with compassion, he left the ground, grabs the cross and puts it in a hole. And so then the village is amazed. But he did these things normally, did loads of these things. It's what's the point? The point isn't the spectacle. The point is the transformation that is going on in his being, in a Teresa of Avila's being, in Maria Woodworth-Etta's being, and the intimate encounter that they're often happening while they're in these states. So these states are a normal, yet, as we're growing, temporary, rearrangement of your being, so your soul and sometimes even your body is caught up in the spirit, and you have intimate encounters with God. And that's what you're absorbed with, the intimate encounters with God. And you might even come back with fantastic revelations. You'll say, last night I met God in a deep way. This is what he explained to me. It was incredible. If someone had been in the room, they might have seen you lying on the sofa with your eyes rolling because your body had changed state while you engaged with God. Now, as of yet, not many of us might be at the place of these dramatic things that we're talking about. But here's the thing. I want to demystify this. And it's funny, isn't it, that we might think that these things are freaky and wild, yet Jesus walked on water. I mean, that's a gravity-defying thing, don't you think? And I find it fascinating that he only walked on water. And I have this feeling, that he was kind to the disciples because he thought, well, if I fly, just straight on fly, that will really freak them out. So I'll just walk on water. So somehow that seems more doable. And even Peter thought, here's the thing, Peter thought I could do it too if you call me. Is the point to walk on water? Well, yes, but that's not, it's almost like that's the gateway to just normality, where you have depth of relationship with God. And here's a thought, why would defying gravity, not that you have to go and seek defying gravity, you just want the gateway to meet God more, it would mean you would be rearranged in your relationship with creation and the world. You would be then seeing reality as it really is. That is, that you are not under creation. God is not under creation, and he's in you and you're in him. That you have authority over these things. And that doesn't mean just that I go around commanding everything to move. It means I'm not under it. So perhaps I can suggest to you that Joseph, let me get rid of those. I'll get rid of those letters so you don't have to stare at them. That Joseph of Cupertino and Teresa of Avila are living more normally, where they're able not to have to submit to physics. And that brings a deeper intimacy with God and a different engagement with the world. And what if even ordinary people like you and me walked in these things little bit at a time, growing in it, increasing our depth of connection with God, so we see the world as he sees them. We're in his world. The kingdom is within us. That would be the true fruit that should come from this. And I know that's a big thing to swallow if you are not used to this sort of conversation. And it's also a sobering thought if you're seeking these things just for spectacular, because that's not the point at all. The point is, you're a son or daughter of the living God. You're extraordinary. And as Paul has said, your body, for some will not die. Your body will be swallowed up by resurrection life. And I think that will happen more and more. And people, for that to happen more and more, for that to be seen, and that the transformation that will bring will require people to pioneer and push in more. Not that you're after spectacular, but you're after the kingdom of God, because you are. The spirit that is within you changes the world, overcomes the world. The spirit that is in you is a weather-changing spirit. The spirit that is in you is a universe-creating spirit. And what is coming is extraordinary, the seeing of Jesus in you. And so if I even boil that down to the mundanity of everyday life, you spend an evening in God's presence, and you're on your own, so who knows whether you levitated or not? That's not the point. You then go to work, you go to meet some people the next day, and you're different, and you're carrying something. And it's very difficult for them to do what Paul said he used to do, which is look at you just as flesh, because they will see something, and they will see Jesus in you. There'll be something, a scary Jesus, not just a nice Jesus, a powerful, beautiful, wondrous Jesus. It will shake their being. They will be influenced by you being around. And this is the mechanics of how it works, because if you engage into ecstatic states, you are in God's world, and it transforms your being and even affects your body. And that's the extraordinary thing. Again, it's hard for us post-Enlightenment Westerners to believe these things, but when they buried some of these Catholic people who they venerated as saints, and they dig up their body, like Catherine, like Teresa of Avila, they dug up her body, and it just was not decaying at the normal rate. And that would be in line with the scriptures, because it would seem if Moses really did die, and there seems to be enough pointers to say he actually did physically die, but because he'd met the glory, there's something extraordinary about his body, and it remains, so much so that the devil fights over his body, as referred to in Jude. And it's referring to something from the book of Enoch, which talks about where Moses died was the joining place, the boundary between the promised land and the land they'd come from. And it was thought of and known to be the home and a gateway for the demonic. And it's almost like there's a glimpse here from Jude. If you've studied the book of Enoch, you would see the background to this verse, that Satan is going, no, his body should be under Hades. And the angel's going, no, you do not touch that body. It's been touched by glory, Satan. Get your hands off. When glory, the light, hits your body, it changes you. And I'm not just trying to offer you a supernatural oil of Ulay that takes away the wrinkles and means that you live an extra 10 years. And we probably will start to live longer, and not just because of medical science. That would seem to be the trajectory of what is being revealed about the power of what Jesus did on the cross, that we are actually living in resurrection life now, that it can overwhelm our body. That could happen, but this is deeper than anything we can probably calculate at this point. So the point of ecstasia, the point of these encounters, is not so that we can go, wow, look at these fantastic things. I went cataleptic for 30 minutes last night. My body was rigid as a board, and I didn't know anything. And people came in and they prodded me, and they even poked me with needles, and I didn't respond to the pain. That's fantastic. Well, yes, but the point was that you were in the heavens. You were having deep revelation, And it's transformed, and it may not even just be cognitive revelation that you come back and then preach on the next Sunday, preach that you get a chance to do. It's the sort of revelation that sits within you. Oh, you're different. You're vibrating differently. And again, it's not so I can live 10 years longer and I don't anymore have to take the extract from the... what's that leaves? There's a leaf. Oh, these plant extracts that make it. I don't even have to take that stuff. No, that's not the point. The point is the glory of Christ. What if there was a whole bunch of us who were becoming ecstatically normal and knew how to flip from those states of ecstasia to in the right mind to communicate to ecstasia and in the right way, all motivated by love of either God or people, or both, I'd hope, then wow, that would be extraordinary. And we would change, and we would transform. And I know it's a natural law, but I'd suggest you could extrapolate and say it's more than that. That when Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile, it was mind-blowing. No one thought you could run a mile in under 4 minutes. I think I've got the right amount of time. It's like they used to think that if you went on a train when they were making trains and you got more than 30 miles an hour, that your body would fall apart because of the movement. The human body wasn't designed to go that fast. Well, when Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile, almost immediately afterwards, several other people ran the 4-minute mile. And there's something about a mind shift happens. Now, what if that... Turn the voltage up on that. What if we understood that we were not under gravity? That would change some of the things you did. And all we can probably do at this point is think spectacular. And, well, how's that practical? But no, it would mean the transformation of how you thought you were as a human in Christ, the new creation. You'd be different. And so we talk about these spectacular things, but if we earth it down, it begins with you, me, seeking God, maybe while we're washing up, maybe an hour into the night, and we have more than imagination pictures, what we might call visions, but we enter into visions. We go, we get caught up, like Paul said, into the third heaven, and we see things that we're not allowed to express, but they change us. And maybe we get permission to release some of it in a way that we can that transforms others around us. Wow. I think... call me a fool, so I can hear all the people going, yes, you're a fool, Paul. Call me a fool. I think that's Christianity. It's supernaturally extraordinary. That's probably the wrong use of adjectives, but it sounded good at the time. When you have Christ in you, you have the resurrection power of Christ in you. It must be, think of what you think that could do and what it would be, and then multiply it 1,000 times and totally change the story because you've misunderstood it. It is more beautiful and powerful than you think. So that's the point of ecstasia. So you come out laughing, weeping with your knowledge of Father. You're so entwined with him, you can't imagine him not being there. Loneliness just flees from you. You understand what it is because you've experienced it in your body-soul thing, but it's so that body-soul connection that longs for other people to keep it alive collapses, and you're just entwined with Father. Like you're one, as Jesus says, with the Father. And you're going to be different. That's the point. So I gave some exercises to do or an exercise, or a couple of exercises to do to the community. And I would suggest what you can do to press on this, because the first stage is getting your body comfortable with letting go of its grip on your soul, because that's the flesh death grip, where your body needs your soul to live and your soul thinks it needs the body to live. And we're not talking about getting rid of your body. It's a complete rearrangement of where the resources are in your being, because they're coming from your spirit, from the Holy Spirit being within you. And so that's letting go of what the body thinks is utterly essential. So that you can see by that, if I start to open that doorway, you can see why fasting can be powerful. Not that it earns anything, but it starts to break. You can use it as a pathway to break your belief that you depend on food. See, as soon as I say any of these things, I sound like crazy, don't I? Because, of course you need food. Well, do you? It would seem Jesus was implying, you don't. I have food to eat you know not of. And here's the thing, the religious spirit sort of dampens that and makes it, oh no, he was just being, like metaphorical. He said, I had food to eat that you don't know about. So he knows what hunger is. He knows that his body has a need for food, but it can be drawn on from somewhere else. So if you press on that with fasting, you start to loosen that connection. I'm not suggesting you do these or do these all at once in a massive way. I'm just pushing them, presenting them to you. Like lack of sleep. All of these things the mystics did, and people still do to this day. There is the ability not to eat. It's called an anida, I think I'm pronouncing that right, where you hardly eat anything. There was until recently there was a Catholic woman I believe in South Korea. I don't know whether she's still alive, but she reportedly had not eaten for 30 years. The weird thing is that we think that's weird. So the only thing that she ate, apparently, was the communion wafer. And I don't think that's enough to sustain you, really, a communion wafer. So what's the point of that? The point is a different connection with God. It's not the fact that you can demonstrate you've never eaten. And that's the problem for our flesh. We all go, either that's ridiculous, or if we think we're into it, we go, wow, let's all go and let's put this person on a stage and make it up. No, they're just rearranging their right. This Catholic nun does not want to be shouted about. All these mystics usually did not want to be venerated massively. They just got on with doing stuff. Sleep. Now you need sleep. Your body needs sleep. But what if it could access a different type of rest that restored it? And so sleep was reduced. That can happen. So if you wake yourself up at 3 o'clock in the morning and pray, it's shaking to your body. But what if that happened enough to shake you that you could actually live differently, and it started to break that connection? And I'm not suggesting you go and do this. Please don't quote me afterwards. Paul said I shouldn't sleep for 6 months, so I tried not to. Almost destroyed me. No, we're mature here. I'm putting something in front of you. So temperature. There's great stories of people being able to withstand heat. We know those stories from Daniel. And cold. Because the physics change around your body when your spirit is overshadowing your body. Not that you're doing it for that, but here is the way to press the door. I would suggest to you, people say, can you do this yourself? Well, in my reading of these mystics, they all made it happen, even if they said they didn't. Because even if they said, I couldn't resist and it just came from God, well, they actually sought God and prayed and fasted and read the scriptures and devoted their lives to God, and these things opened up. It's a cooperation. You cannot make yourself go into a levitation trance and engage with God all of a sudden. But you can prepare your heart, and who knows what will happen next as you go deeper into Him. Those things can happen. And it's, again, your focus will be God, not the fact that you levitated. In fact, your flesh, the part of your flesh that will go, wow, this is great, I could become really famous. I could become the levitating preacher. I could be the one who goes around and everyone says, yeah, let's go and see this guy, he levitates 6 inches off the ground. That's just such a travesty of what this is about. Can you imagine Jesus doing that? No, this is about deep encounter because you pressed on those limits. So the exercise I gave, and someone in the community was asking, can I make this even simpler? So on the community, there's a big explanation of it. And then I got ChatGPT to read it and give me a 3-sentence summary of the exercise. So that's on the community as well, if that helps you, if that makes it simpler. But what you're doing in that exercise is you're taking the illusion that we're dependent on gravity, imagining being on the edge of a cliff in the process of prayer. You've opened your heart up, you're loving God. Imagining yourself on the edge of a cliff, and imagine yourself, see if you can imagine it so much that you feel the slight fear of being too close to the edge and stepping out. Just to press on that fear of gravity thing. And as you do it, and with your breathing, when you breathe out, there's a relaxing that comes to your body. So if you go, and imagine stepping out into the air while you're praying in a room somewhere, that can activate stuff. That can activate a lifting up. I go, Father, I trust you. I step out. And there's a movement that happens in your body, even with the breathing, as you deliberately slow your breathing and exhale deeply, you create a flow in your body, which must be related to chemicals moving around your body, that is relaxing and also a stepping in. If you like, the sort of thing you might do. Do you remember being a teenager on the dance floor at a party, and you get lost in the music and you step into the dance and you kind of temporarily forget where you are and you're enjoying it? If you ever had that experience, it's that you're stepping into a different state, and I'm using the trigger of, whoa, I'm stepping off a cliff. I'm going to go up. Instead of going down, I'm going to go up into His presence. And that whole imagination, body engagement, creates an opening for the Spirit who's longing for you to have ecstatic intimacy with Father more than you are, and knows how to train you how to live in this. He knows. He knows what's needed in your life. You are enthusiastically stepping into it and saying, Holy Spirit, I want this to go into your house. So let's do that if you're up for it. It's that simple. All we have to do is start to relax now. Of course, you'd take longer if you're on your own, if you had the chance. But it's the sort of thing you could do on the bus, on a plane, anywhere. Be a bit careful when you're driving, but we relax. And now I'm going to suggest, after a bit of relaxing, keep relaxing. We're going to take a deep breath. And then picture now, before that deep breath happens, that you're on the edge of a cliff. Maybe you know somewhere where you are. I know somewhere in the hills where I am. that's really a little bit scary to be near. And I'm near that edge just to activate that fear, that body soul grip, where body's going, no, no. And I'm going to say, body, it's okay. It's okay. I was made to fly in his presence. I'm going to imagine that. And now I'm going to use a deep breath when I say go. And I'm going to take a deep breath. And as I breathe out, imagine stepping out off the edge and flying weightless into Father's presence. Here we go. Deep breath now. Perhaps you feel a momentary rush. Do it again. Breathe in. Step out. Fly with the Spirit. And one more time, we're going to take a full step out as we breathe out. Into his presence. Put your soul at rest with him, listening, not expecting to hear anything, just with him. That opening that's in your being, we push it wider, wider. We go in wider to the Father's house. The Father's house. Imagine flying. And you're safe. You're with him. You're not in this planet. And let any energy that you've felt, any opening, any awareness, let it fill your body now. Let it, imagine it like a beautiful oil filling your body. Every muscle, every inch of skin. Your eyeballs, your ears. Whoa. The substance of the heavens. Thank you, Jesus. Whoa. Jesus manifesting in your body. Whoa. Whoa. Ha. Let's sit on the edge of the cliff now. Take a break. Ah. Let me, maybe you've got a question or a comment you want to make. You're going to have to raise your hand or put it out so then we can unmute you. In fact, I think there's an... I'll risk unmuting you all. You can unmute yourself now. Some people ask, how does... I think this affects things like Mike was asking about generational stuff and dark stuff. doing this sort of thing puts you in a different layer of reality where generational curse and brokenness is put in perspective. So those things are real, but you're in a layer of reality that's more real than those. So you're going to become probably more aware of those restrictions. You will hit them, the dark stuff. It's an invitation to change your relationship to it. So that's how that's one sentence explanation of it. So it's there, but I'm not under it anymore. So my movement is how do we let the glory into that so that it changes and my perspective on it changes, and therefore my family changes, and therefore my generational line changes. I think that's for people who are mystical, or whether they often don't realize it, or they're prophetic and don't realize it. You often meet dark stuff because you're sensitive, and it's not a matter of making that stuff go away, though you might have to if you're overwhelmed with fear. It's about dealing with the fear, and the dealing with the fear is realizing you're above the fear. So it's not being afraid of the fear itself. It's coming above it. So you feel the fear touching your body, but your body's learning to be so relaxed, it trusts your spirit. Your soul trusts your spirit. So you can walk into a room and think, gosh, there's dark stuff here. Well, they're doing some evil stuff here. Good job I came in. And it's not that I go in as some kind of super apostle, triumphalistic. No, it's about love. It's not about power as in power, like corrupt power, the power of the world. It's about love, which has extraordinary power. And so sometimes allows dark stuff to dance around it because I'm not worried. But then at the right time, I go, no, let that person go. Or even in just me being there while the darkness is dancing around someone, eventually the person realizes, I don't need to submit to this darkness, do I? And they get free because of my positioning in relation to that fear in Christ. So you will experience stuff. You might well experience nightmares, but your relationship to that will shift. And so I would take nightmares and present them to God and engage with them while I'm awake in an ecstatic way and go, God, what's being revealed here? How do we undo this? And it's often, so I often see people get stuck trying to deal with blocks or sin patterns that are in their generational line, rather than, like, what do I need to do to unwind that? Rather than, God, how do you want to transform this? What's the glory that comes through this? It's such a subtly different yet massively different mentality that's hard to explain. It has to be walked through because, when you see it, it's like, oh gosh, yeah. So I would suggest everything that was twisted since Adam and Eve will be untwisted. And it is already untwisted. It's just having to work out. And that process is going on. And it involves you and me. Christ is seated at the right hand of the Father. And the enemies will be put under our feet in him. So we're part of it. Extraordinary. I don't think we understand that enough at all yet.
Paul,
yes.
Brilliant. Thank you. That answers it all. That's this super sensitive spirituality.
Oh, you have, Mike. You definitely have.
Oh, big time. Always have that. But it's an encouragement Well, a few days ago, I had the trance, real kind of a trance experience a few days ago on the
Oh,
last night
tell us.
of, of the first week's exercises. And interestingly, it was in my sleep, but in my sleep, and I do have a lot of night stuff. And for some reason, I thought it was about 2:30 in the morning. I don't know why, because I was fast asleep, but I sensed the presence of God in the room. I can only describe as sensing a powerful presence of God, and it was beautiful.
Wow.
And then again, it seemed to be about 4:30, and I don't know why, because I was fast asleep, but it happened again. And on the first one, I kind of saw the rear of a guy with a brown robe and like an old-fashioned monk style
Yeah.
hairstyle in the first one. 4:30, and whether it was continuous or again, I don't know, but I had this sense of the presence of God in the room and a beautiful thing. And then I saw like the similar figure again, but a different monk. And then I woke up in the morning. When I woke up wide awake in the morning, the room was filled with light, and there was a lovely shimmering light, which is not unusual for me, kind of a shimmering light. But the strange thing was, I was telling myself, don't be scared, which was
Mm.
odd because I wasn't scared, and I'm not when I see that. I'm scared when I've come out of the darkness, but it was a beautiful thing. And I believe it's because I've been going through all the exercises, and although going through the exercises carefully, it didn't appear to happen the trance then or during the day. It was happening in my sleep, I believe, as a result.
Oh, thanks for telling us, Mike. I love it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. How's that
And nothing to do with
affected
me
you?
because I was asleep.
How- How's
It's good.
well, it is something to do with you. You're asking for it, and but yeah, I know
Yeah,
what you mean. It's a
yeah,
cooperation, isn't it? So, Mike,
yeah.
how does it make you feel? A couple of days later, what's it done?
It kind of, I feel better. I feel more alive.
Mm,
It felt good that it can be achieved, it can happen. But I find in it works in my life in the daytime. Things get better. I feel better. I feel more alive. I feel happier, more alive, more aware, and for no strange reason, just feel more alive.
wow, gorgeous.
Mm.
Anyone else want to say anything? I'm having that. I'm having momentary transvections. I'm, I'm I keep ending up in the States in the last few seconds. I just want to say that because I think there's probably stuff happening, and I have to say that to those. There's any U.S. soil-based people listening to this right now. Wow, you're being pulled in. It's going to go deeper. I just want to say to people who've done this stuff, particularly in the US, and who might be listening to this after, if you've felt restricted and shut down by people around you, and you just not felt understood, I just want to loose life over you. I want to come and stand by your spirit, with your spirit, along your side with you, and go. And all of us hopefully are doing the same with you. We're with you and go, this is beautifully normal. It's so good to have you learning to grow, and maybe you have stuff to teach us. Does anyone else have any questions or comments or experiences? Well, I think I will start to draw it to a close, and we're 8 minutes over. I don't like to take too long, though, of course, the rulership of time will end because you're not under the sun and the moon anymore. So, again, wouldn't that be wonderful? We can undo oil of Ulay. We don't need that because we can undo the influence of the sun and other bad
Oh,
jokes. Yeah. Who's talking to me?
I'm Michael.
Hey, Michael.
I had a small question.
Oh, go for it.
Sometimes I experience something like I thought uh, I have a spiritual interaction, and I have a question or an option to make.
Yeah.
And I seem to make it like too fast. And I don't know whether it's like it has been made already in the spirit and I'm just watching it, or I get stressed and I just make the choice very quickly or something like that.
Do you mean by that it's over very quick? It's like it happens extremely quick. Is that what you're saying?
Like I'm used to thinking a lot when I get an option in my real life, and this is like just too quick.
So you have some kind of spiritual movement, but too quickly you're back thinking. Is that what
No. Too quickly I make the answer to that movement.
Okay. Yeah, that's a challenge, Michael. So,
What do you mean by that?
if I think from conversation we've had before, you're very active in your mind, your cognition, your thinking. So it's actually a skill to learn to suspend your cognition for a while. It really is quite a skill, and it's difficult for some people more than others. We're all on a line, aren't we? And I think that's what Paul is saying. If we're out of our mind, he was able to leave his cognitive processing and have ecstatic encounters, move into a different part of his consciousness. And that's practice. And so, Michael, I think it's as soon as you notice that's happening and you don't want it to happen quick, it's like you have to breathe it out, go, no mind, it's okay. Let's trust the spirit. And you keep doing that. You allow, because your mind is gluing to your body and wanting to think it all through. It's the knowledge of good and evil. It wants to know stuff. You grab it, and you're going, no, it's okay. Let's fly. And so you try to stretch out how long you go without the brain getting involved too quick. For as long as you can. And it is like, it starts off as fractions of a second. So I think it may even be normative for us to be constantly going in and out, like at the blink of an eye, to ecstatic and cognitive, ecstatic, cognitive. So it's learning to manage that. So it's okay for me to go cognitive as long as I wanted to go cognitive at that point. And that takes practice, Michael. I don't know whether, hopefully that's helping you to understand that. And then you have to practice it. You have to go, okay, I'm praying. Well, I felt a lift. Oh, what is that? Oh, what's happening? And oh no, I don't want to analyze it. I let go. So breathing really helps. Deep, controlled breathing. And focusing on the breathing rather than focusing on watching what is happening. Be in your breathing, lost in it. And that helps you move to a different state of consciousness where you can be aware of the presence of God without cognition, just he's here. Because God's presence isn't calculated, it's just there. So in effect, you have to stop calculating to be aware of his presence because it's always there. It's not something you can calculate. I'm saying a lot of stuff here.
Yeah. It feels more like not that I'm calculating, but I seem to get stressed and seem to rush to make a decision and an answer to that inquiry.
Yeah. I would use breathing.
But maybe your answer is the same. Just try to suspend and rest in it more.
Breathe and try, but the word try sounds like effort. It's more like anti-try, like opposite of try, but it takes a choice of stopping asking questions That's trust, isn't it? Trust. So the way our flesh works is we get enough information, roughly, this is a rough way, we get enough understanding, we get the knowledge of good and evil till we feel confident enough to trust our knowledge, and then we relax. Whereas the tree of life is different. It's, he's here, the Spirit's in me, I trust. And the questions can become different. My relationship to the questions becomes different. Like, why is this happening in my life? Why? How do I know who to build relationship with or not? What job do I have? All of those questions are the life is not in the answer to those questions. The life, when I'm in it, comes out, changes my relationship to the questions. That's really that's actually worth €1 million, Michael, but it's hard to understand. So if you know what I mean, I'm not trying to get answers to questions, although that might be the thing that causes me to seek God in the first place. It ultimately becomes, I'm in his house, and the questions become small. And for a moment, I forget the questions, if you like. And then when I come back, I carry wisdom that answers those questions in a different way. So that's why we learn to stop calculating, because that mechanism isn't helping me go into the presence. I'll stop there. I might make it even more complicated, Michael. I think you're doing amazing, Michael. I feel privileged to know you. You are hyper intelligent, and that's a gift and a problem. Anyone else have a question, or shall I
Thank you.
wind up? Oh, you're welcome, Michael.
Hi, Paul. I just wanted to say what you've just said, I find really, really helpful. Yeah, that was really, really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Yeah. Well, I think we're kind of done, and I see some comments here. I should have looked at the comments. Yes, I should have looked at those. Oh, that's a really good question from Johan in the notes. But I can't. Yeah, it's a difficult. Let me just finish with that. I'll just spend a minute on that, and then I'll close it. Johan is asking basically, what does it mean to have people see Jesus in us? Are we going to cease to be and it's just Jesus? That's a really good question. Actually, you could answer that on so many layers. So, is the initial layer? Here's the Christian answer, and then here's the deeper. And so the Christian answer is no. You never cease to be. It's just Jesus with you. But if we take that deeper, the thing you're actually talking about, probably the thing that I face, that we all face, which is that we're terrified of losing our identity. And it's a gut thing. That's death, to lose your identity, to cease to be uniquely alive. The problem is that identity has got deeply muddied by flesh. So we create a persona that we think is our identity. And we live from it. We'll fight for it. We'll defend it, even if it's a negative one, because at least it's my identity, even if it's a self-hatred identity. And so when people see Jesus in you, really, if they really are starting to see Jesus in you, they're actually seeing the real you. Because the scriptures say we don't yet know who we are, but we know this: when we see him, we'll be like him. And Paul says in Colossians chapter 3 that when Christ is revealed, we will be revealed with him in glory. So our true identity is wrapped up with him. So in a sense, at this deeper level, I can answer it like this: yes, you will cease to be, but it's not an oblivion thing. It's the you that ceases is the false you, and the real you who's loved, beautifully loved, and has echoes of the false you, because the false you was always just a covering over the real you, gets exposed, and then you are extraordinary in your own right. But there's the thing: there is no own right in Jesus. We're so united, like Jesus says, you can't have Jesus without having the Father. You will not be able to have Jesus without having you. So when people meet Jesus, they meet you. Wow. He wears you as his perfume. So, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for taking part. See you at the next Zoom on the community. If you're not in the community, you're welcome to join us. You can get in at Patreon, or you can go direct to spiritualrealities.co. And I think you're lovely people. Great to hang out with you. See you guys.